Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Down Unders. Another week, another weekend of a whole lot of news. I didn't know where I was going to go up there. I choked up real quickly. But, brother, as always on our Wednesday show, Brody, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, good, brother. Good.
Crazy week, bro. Guys, make sure you jump in. Give us all your questions. Today, we're going to be touching on all the news around, player signings. Obviously, the deadline is coming up very quickly, the June 30 deadline. So there is news floating around everywhere about different signings, different players maybe on the move. So make sure you jump into the questions there. We'll be touching on them. We'll touch on State of Origin. You guys haven't seen us in a little bit, so we'll give you our thoughts on State of Origin just quickly. And then obviously finish off with some Supercoach chat. So hold your Supercoach chat questions to the end of the show. And shout out to you guys for jumping in early there. Tahi, bro, what's happening? And Tans jumping in as always. Tans, shout out to you. But we may as well, first of all, touch on last Wednesday's performance, bro. It's definitely a lot of talking point from this, but I think it's simmered down a little bit after a week or so has passed. But first of all, bro, your thoughts on Origin. Obviously, the controversies around the referees and all that sort of stuff, but New South Wales, you take it back to Sydney you still got the opportunity to lock up the series there. I think we both kind of agree in the sense of I don't think Queensland's fully fixed everything yet, even though the scoreline and all that sort of stuff, I still think there's a lot of cracks there too. But your thoughts overall on that game and what you took out of it and how confident you are for the Sydney game?
I guess you can't really be too confident, bro, because it just depends on, one, how you show up, and two, how the game rolls. If you get, the 50-50 calls, as we like to call it, the bounce of the ball, that could just not go your way. Very frustrating game. There was a lot of ill discipline from the Blues, but and that's where that landslide penalty count came from. But to say that Queensland were perfect, besides two penalties and a couple of six agains, is hard to say. And I think that's what the uproar is from. But other than that, I believe Queensland's game plan was a lot better in attack. It was a run-first mentality from Gam Munster, and that showed. And I really think they got their sets off onto the front foot. If anything broke down, he wasn't looking to pass to throw at some dude in a worse position. He was just I'm going to tuck it up, lead from the front. And I think his boys reacted to that.
Yeah, 100%. I do feel like that the little rocket that Billy has put up, certain of the boys, a couple of changes, I thought actually ended up benefiting us at the end of the day. So I don't really have any qualms on that. Like, coming into the last game, I still think that we need a bigger body or someone in there that's emotional in the middle to kind of negate, especially when the Blues start to get a roll on, as we saw in the second half, as we talk about penalty counts. I know it wasn't so much into one other favour, but I'm pretty sure the majority of the count just swung the opposite way for the Blues, and the way the Utes got a roll on in that second half was just honestly, it was heart attack sort of moment towards the end there. So I'm very happy the boys end up holding in and just getting the victory there. But we'll quickly touch on the penalties in general and how much that can affect the game. Like, I know you personally. I know that you don't put you put a little bit, but you don't put a lot on what's going on there. You run by the sentiment that the referee doesn't make the tackles. You got to make your tackles and turn team around and that. But it is a little bit, I do sitting with it for a little bit, it is really, really tough when you are getting behind on, let's say, was it a 7-0, 8-0 penalty count at one point?
Yeah,
went to 9.
8-0 first half and then one straight out of halftime, making it 9-0 before that was it. Oh, no, I think it ended up 10-2, didn't it, or something?
10-2 at the end of the game there, yeah. And so your thoughts on what the Blues, how hard that is for the Blues obviously to play on the back foot, and how much do you feed into that being the biggest dictator of the game?
It's hard to defend against, I guess. It takes your advantage of fatiguing the other team out. They're getting the piggybacks out of their end, and I think that's the big part. Queensland struggled so much game one to get out of their end, and it seems to be you take away what we count about 5 penalties that were ill-disciplined, like the elbow, the eye gouge. You got another 5 there across the game where they were legit piggybacks out of their end. So that's 5 sets Queensland got a helping hand out of their end. And I think that's the frustrating bit, because we've seen in game one, without those penalties, Queensland can't seem to make the meters out of their end. So that's where it kind of goes against the Blues, because, they did so well that game one. whether it was better discipline or just, you know, a bit of rub of the green to make a game 3. That's where they kind of had Queensland pinned last time, whereas, you know, they gave Queensland enough attacking opportunities and the fatigue compound, and that's why Queensland could to crack the Blues line there to get a couple of tries.
Yeah, I think like from me on my end of it, like when I run through it, I don't agree with the way that the series has been refereed in general. Like we talked about game 1 where it got refereed as in a proper NRL game, which, you know, you can kind of, you know, give or take. Is that the way it should be? Like, I think a lot more people love it to where, you know, allow the players to kind of dictate the play a little bit more. You know, in game 1, that 3-0 start there where we were just giving away piggyback penalties to start off that game, and the Blues just started to put a roll on us, right? And then it just swung the complete opposite way of the favour due to obviously maybe the little bit of the pressure, whatever happened in that first game, swung into the Blues' favour. Do you see that swinging back into the Blues' favour for game 3? More so the outrage, you know, coming out, you know, they're going to get Ashley Klein, who apparently is confirmed again for game 3, which like the amount of uproar around Ashley Klein, like, can we just choose like, you know, Adam G or something like that to referee this game? But anyway, the Blues bringing him into camp to kind of get a little bit more of a lay of the land of how he's going to referee the game. Like, do you think it may swing back the way in the Blues' favour due to how big of a discrepancy that count was to start in game 2?
Yeah, it will definitely. And that's probably more so what the Blues are trying to do, like as a squad, is not so much blame that for losing, but it's to make sure that the calls don't go that way again. If, you know, you throw something out there saying, you're doing this, you're cheating for them, you know, the ref's going to have to think about it a little bit more when he goes to blow a penalty for Queensland, if it's generally a penalty. So I think that's more so what the Blues are trying to do. The same as they did with calling him out about being at trainings with DCE and stuff like that. It's all that little gamesmanship to make the referee stop and think if he actually wants to blow that penalty. And I think that's what they're getting at there.
Yeah, 100%. And on the Maroon side of things, guys, because like, you know, on my side of things, I'm similarly, I hate where it comes down to this, like, you know, my boys get a win, and like, you know, we're talking about referees, and it always sucks when like there is a tough task in front of us. We got to verse the New South Wales Blues at the moment. When we go through these team lists, like it's an incredible side. As you know, the Maroons got a great side as well, and we can't take away that. But it was a big victory for us, especially for everyone writing us off going into that series. I know you obviously had it close and that, but majority of like fans out there had this being a 13+ and probably a whitewash for the Blues coming into this, and we just get the win there. What impressed you the most about the Maroons? Was there a player or a performance out there that you really thought dictated the terms of the game, and that you look into game 3 to want to shut down earlier if that guy is still selected?
It's probably Kurt Catewell, man. He was like a real turn in the Queensland's line speed, I'm going to say. You know, and there was a lot of talk around the missed tackle stats on Kurt Catewell. And I believe that's because his line speed is so good. He's trying to get up there and making the one-on-one tackles. So, yeah, he's bound to miss from time to time, but he's just dragging that line speed up for Queensland and made it all the difference. You know, he got Cotter to then come with him. You know, you had Munster with the run-first mentality. I think those 3 guys alone had standout performances. Other than that, everybody else kind of just did their job in that first half. But again, as soon as the penalties slowed up, it went back to struggle street.
Yeah, and I felt like a lot of that too, like, you know, from the Maroon side of things, like come the second half, you know, especially when it swung more so into the Blues' favour of things, you know, the amount of errors that we end up giving up. Like, we finished the end of the game here of 66% completion rate. The Blues finished with 70. It was like a stark contrast. In that first half, the Blues, I think, only completed at 50% or 58% due to their errors and their you know, ill discipline in those areas, right, which end up allowing the Maroons getting the 4 tries in that first half. The Blues coming home with the 4 tries in the second half. That, you know, pretty much off the back of a ton of just different errors. Like, again, I turn back to, you know, that one moment where it looked like we turned momentum around just a tad. We held you behind that 30-meter line. Luai puts a shank of a kick down. If the Hammer took that and took it back through, we would have maybe hopefully swung momentum back in our favour again through our defence. It was one of the big moments in the game, and the Hammer knocks the ball on. And then off the back of that, it just felt like it was like Robert Toyer knocked the ball on. There was one-on-one strip sell happening out there, and it was just kind of like pulling my hair out as a Queensland fan. Just looking at that and going, fuck, boys, like, can we just hold on to the ball? So I think that's what I continue to say, like, when I say to you is like, yeah, we can talk penalties, this and that. Like, you know, the score line is what it is. my whole argument towards the penalties and that was more so to the fact of like pretty much the tale of what this series is. And, you know, the Maroons more likely giving away 6 against due to the Blues getting great field position off the back of those sets, right? And that's where a lot of their penalties come into this game, where the Blues were holding the Maroons back behind that point of getting this 6 again, right? Which is over that 40-meter line into your game advantage. So a lot of the penalties end up coming out being piggyback penalties with a big dictator and that sort of sense of the thing. So it still shows the same issues that we do still have against this New South Wales side that we need to turn around to get a good win in game 3. And one game can definitely, if the boys go out there and absolutely do that. But as a Maroons fan, I'm still not like 100% confident. Like, you know, even after this game, I wouldn't be a very confident Maroons fan to be like, hey, we're going to go to Sydney and get this one done. Like, do you see the Maroons changing their issues there, even though we've seen it for 2 games there? Or do you think this is going to be a thing that it's going to take a little bit before we can get back into that realm of dominance, especially getting out of our own end?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while. You know, I think you need some fresh faces. You need some healthy competition for that jersey, which will bring guys back feeling, I'm not saying they're not feeling the honor of being selected, but it'll put pressure on, I got to play good if I want that Queensland jersey. And I feel like that healthy competition of you got to play your ass off to get a Queensland jersey isn't there anymore, just due to the lack of guys you've got coming through. That's all I can say. But would this even be so much of a big talking point, you know, the penalty count, if the Blues landed 2 more conversions and won the game? Or do you think it would just be kind of not really worried about? I honestly think it would probably be smoothed over. The Blues got a win, so it wouldn't be anything that what anyone was talking about. And to be honest, like, when I was watching the game, I didn't really take notice of this whole penalty count thing until it actually got brought up just before halftime. Like, when the stat came up that we didn't get any penalties, I thought back, I was like, is that right? And like, because I remember, as I said, like, you know, I know we only got the 3 6 again from memory, 2 or 3 6 again in that first half. That's why I was like, I remember us not getting a little bit of a rub in some moments there too, but it was just in a different form, right? And that's why I kind of bring up my arguments away as like, my arguments to the whole Blues fan or just fan base in general is, if we had a proper penalty count of 6 against added into it, like old school style of footy, or that game would be dictated in a different way. Again, it's not looking great in that favour, but we weren't perfect in that first half either. It's not like we didn't give away any penalties. We gave it away in different positions on the field that end up causing that. And like from the opposite side of things, as I said, like I could name in that whole first half, you had the obstruction, the eye gouge, the elbow to the head. You had the high tackle, Angus Crichton, and you know, there was a lot of those ones that end up, you know, giving it away, right? So that was my whole argument to this whole thing. And I guess you bring a really good point. If the Blues end up hitting their conversions, this is a nothing story. So, like, you know, for me, I didn't take notice until the stat came up, and I don't think a lot of people would have taken notice of it until the stat came up, to be honest, the way the game played in that first half. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I just think what I noticed watching the game was not so much on the penalties against the Blues, but the penalties that they received. You know, like Queensland line speed was good, but it couldn't have been that good without slipping up and giving away a penalty. You know, and there wasn't half as many 6 again calls as you see in a normal NRL game for the offsides that I believe were there from Queensland getting up off the ruck. Online defense. So, but then again, that only happened probably 1 or 2 sets throughout the game in that first half because New South Wales weren't ever really attacking there.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, pretty much it's one of those games where at the end of the day, as I said, like, take the penalty count away from it. I still think we've got our similar issues going into game 3 that we need to really work on, really figure out how to fix that up. And the Blues still know that there is like a dominance there. When they get a roll on, they're able to do what they need to do. I think it's just the clinicalness. I felt like the first in game number 1, the Blues were so much more clinical early on in that game, where it did feel like he took a back foot step in game 2 with the kicks out in the full. I think the first kick that you had went out in the full, and it kind of felt like, all right, so you guys aren't fully there just yet, especially with a couple of changes that you had. I want to pivot this just a tad because I've heard a little bit about this as well, and I didn't have it on the run sheet, but I feel like it was a really good thing to bring up. Some of the qualms over the Blues squad after one loss, I think, is just crazy. Have you heard some of the chat? Like Stefano not having his best game out there, I can probably give a take maybe if we do need to, look at maybe changing him out if you're a Blues fan, this and that. But there was a talk on Max King. He only got played for 30 minutes in this game. He didn't really even get too much of an opportunity. But I saw, who did I see? Andrew Voss coming out and said that he was a pretty much a non-factor and whether they should look at changing him out after that one game. I think Blues fans need to stop that. It wasn't like a big factor in that sort of sense, but I want to get your view because Max King plays for you and what he does really well. I don't think he got the opportunity to show his game in this one.
No, he didn't. Again, if the Blues won the game, they don't talk about dropping or changing anybody. No. I felt the way that Laurie used his subs this time around was really, really dumb. He took off basically Haas, King, and Isaiah Yeo all at the same time. Played Hudson Young, Stefano, and
Hudson Young, Stefano, Spencer Leniu, and Connor Watson
all at the same time. Those three came on for Haas, Yeo, and Max King. So I don't know what he's doing there, dropping Yeo off after 25 minutes as well in that first half. It's kind of like he just surrendered that first half. And not saying that those boys were bad off the bench. I don't think Stefano did much. Spencer kind of got shut down because he wasn't playing an impact role. You bring Spencer on for the front foot stuff, never the back foot stuff. And Hudson, I thought he probably played his best Origin game yet.
Me too.
But it's just really weird that he took those three guys all off at the same time. I felt that was a really weird one. But yeah, I think it's weird. Why the talks of dropping Max King out of the team completely, like maybe back to the bench if you want to, 100%. But I don't think he was really even given a chance to play well this game, in my opinion.
And Connor Watson, you can kind of add with that too, because I did think that I saw his name getting thrown up around this as well, saying that he hasn't had a good or Origin game, or something like that around that. And I was like looking at it going, this is the thing that Blues fans probably have to deal with, seeing their media after a loss or something like that. And it's always going to be like, all right, who are we going to change? Who are we going to do this to fix this up and all that? And it's kind of like, Max King in game one was an incredible performer for you guys. He stepped up. He did everything he needed to do. Game two, unfortunately, I completely agree. I think Laurie's interchange probably didn't go as well. And you even brought it up during the game. I saw him run back through our messages and stuff, and you were bringing it up. I was like, I'm not understanding what Laurie's interchanging all that's being like, especially Connor Watson coming on for the last 20 minutes of the game. I felt like that. Yeah, he could have been a really good impact and maybe change momentum, especially with the penalty count going the way it was, or within that middle part of the game at least, right? But those are sort of questions I think it was more come down on the coach. I don't really put it on some of the players. Like, again, give or take, I thought Stefano probably had a really poor little outing out there, right? And to where I would be like, all right, Stefano, he got put in there to replace, Mitch Barnett, this and that, right? I think, the market defense he had for the Munster try wasn't good enough in that moment there too. I think he had an error in that game. It was a pretty poor error.
So for me, the only change I would make, if any, is Stefano for Keon.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going down that track, because I thought it was just absolutely mental at them bringing up Max King's name and saying that he was one of the issues out there when he didn't even get an opportunity.
But it's just how quick the media is. Like, they're already got a plan for Cleary being out and his name this week. Like,
I know.
It's insane. It's insane.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, Chris brought it up here too. Who plays halfback for New South Wales? And obviously he's trying back over if Nathan Cleary is not playing, but Nathan's still got the opportunity to play. So
yeah, he's named to play tomorrow night. So he'll play Origin if he gets through tomorrow night's game without a drama.
Yeah, 100%.
And for me, if you want my 2 cents on who plays, if he doesn't, you got to go with Adam Reynolds. I love Isaiah Katoa, and he is the future, but you don't ruin the future right now in a game 3 decider when you know he won't be picked for game 1 next year, no matter how well he plays, if Moses and Cleary are fit. So
I actually fully agree with that. I know that Gus was caught saying that as well, and everyone read into, I think it's the week that happens, you guys play the Broncos, so they're kind of like, oh, is he trying to like feed into say like, take Adam Reynolds out of the Broncos for that game? But no, I agree with that, because you want to have an experienced guy that's been there, been in the Origin series and done that. If you chuck in Isaiah Katoa too early there, and like you know, unfortunately, the way media runs and how casual fans probably look at a game, if Isaiah Couture goes in there, loses a game, probably doesn't have his greatest game because he is a rookie in the Origin arena, he's going to be tainted for every time he's going to get picked for that series. And people are going to remember him for what happened in game 3 of this year. Like, same thing happened to Mitchell Pearce for all those years. You know, even Nathan Cleary still gets dealt with that, even though he's had proper games in Origin as well. So just allow these kids to grow before they get chucked into this big arena, especially in a big moment.
100%. And yeah, if they're not going to play game 1 next year, no matter how well they play, what is the point?
Yeah, 100%. And with the Maroon side of things,
not going to the Dogs, Chris.
What do you got?
Reynolds staying.
No, I'm pretty sure he's signed to stay 1 more year for the Broncos.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about.
With the Maroons, bro, do you see the Maroons making any changes for game number 3 at all, or do you think Billy's just going to stick with what they had?
They won't make any unforced changes, and I pray to God that they start with the same bench again. Because you know, Paddy Carrigan went from being a gun out there to being kind of non-existent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that helped. That went to the fullest extent.
Nanai as well. He didn't seem like he did much when he came on.
No, the only thing for me, I would love to see it still find a way to get Corey Horsburgh or something like that out there. I really do think that is something we're still missing. But it would be a tough pick to kind of change anything after a winning game in general.
If Nanai would be the one that goes out then for me. If you just don't need a back row on the bench, in my opinion.
No, I'd rather just shift everything around, move like a Cotter or a Trent Liera to the bench again, and maybe and then chuck in Nanai to start. But I don't think I'd go that way. Last one, Kalen Ponga as well. Probably not been in the greatest form for all this year. Probably up till the weekend of footy, and we'll touch on the weekend of footy very shortly too, guys. He still gets a fullback role for the Queensland Maroons come game 3. You don't see that changing at all?
I don't think so. No. I think they'll stick with him for the series. I'd be more worried about potentially finding a better back rower for edge defense there next to Dearden because he got caught out multiple times. Yeah,
and I don't think the hammer, some of the defensive movements on that wing left to be desired either. He didn't really cut down time and space when he needed to, and that's definitely an area we need to key in on because we know the Blues are going to be running that way, the way they did, and fucking Brian Toto had a field day at the end of that game. Legend. All right, is that enough Origin chat until game number 3 comes around, brother?
I think so, brother.
Yeah, it's always good. It's always good. All right, may as well touch on all the news of the week. So, guys, as I said before, it's almost June 30. So, June 30 is our cutoff of the transfers for the year coming. So, there's a lot of news around transfers and stuff coming out with the NRL right now. So, we may as well go on to, first of all, one that's been confirmed. Jack DeVellin is going to the Parramatta Eels in 2026 on a 2-year deal, bro. Your thoughts on this move? For me, I think it's a really nice move for Parramatta, getting another experienced member. Underrated piece for the Dragons this year, I believe, anyway, as well. I think this hurts the Dragons in a sense as well. I think that he's been a really key contributor for him. But your thoughts on the move on both sides, Parramatta and the Dragons?
Yeah, I think it's a great move for the Eels. You know, passing on some more deadwood these days of Bryce Cartwright, Ryan Madison, those types. Yep. Oh, is Madison gone yet? I don't know.
No, but like
there for a while.
Surely he'll be gone sometime.
Yeah, surely they'll be freeing that money up. So yeah, I like that. I like that for Parramatta. You know, develop in there. Probably start at lock and then move up front when Dylan Walker comes on. I reckon that's a really good move. And again, for the Dragons, you know, they've got plenty of young guns coming through. Dylan Egan, Hamish Stewart, those types that I think that they should invest in.
Yeah, 100%. So 2-year deal, guys, 2026 onwards. Chriso is not loving it in the chat, but I'm sure he's going to be fairly good for you, bro, and you'll change your aspect on him fairly quickly. I believe anyway. I actually think he's still a decent player in the NRL, and I think he'll make an impact for Parramatta at the moment.
It just shows the Eels will take anybody, eh?
You're loving this, mate. You're stirring the pot over there. Shout out to Chris, always tuning in. Appreciate you, Chris. We love the banter with you, mate. Moving over to other news around, bro. We may as well touch on the other ones before we touch on the big one. Tyrell Sloan being told to look elsewhere. So it looks like the Dragons are trying to clear house. It's maybe to move in for a guy that we'll be talking about later on. Who knows? Your thoughts on this one as well? There's still a lot of potential there with Tyrell Sloan, but maybe a new bit of scenery will help him hit his potential in the future because he's just not doing it at the Dragons right now.
Maybe the Eels will sign him. No, I think Tyrell Sloan could potentially fit. Like you put it this way: if he goes to Melbourne,
yeah,
freak in the making. You know, whatever position he wants to play. I don't know who's going to open up the wallet for Terrell Sloan. I don't know what club would suit him at this stage.
Mm.
I'm just trying to think who needs a winger, fullback. I know fullbacks are a dime a dozen at the moment, so nobody's really chasing a fullback.
No. Nah, it's really, I've struggled to really think about it. I had that one thought, I said it to you straight away, like we're going off systems and how guys can be better within systems. Not to say he'll get into a first grade squad, but maybe go into New South Wales Cup and work his way through. But with the Dogs, like, you know, to have a backup fullback there, you got Cochrane, a young kid that's coming up and he's doing a fairly good job in New South Wales Cup. And then when he drops down to Flegg, he does a great job there too. He's still a young member. But I think that like someone like Terrell Sloan, because he's got all the potential, if Serraldo is able to get the key parts of his game that are the issue is a lot of what Serraldo can fix in his game, I believe, and can make him into a better player. But you brought up a really good point there too of like, you know, looking for fullbacks in a doggy system. You don't want the flary type of fullback in your system. Your system predicates very similar to the Warriors and the Panthers of having a consistent fullback like a Dylan Edwards, a Chance Nickel-Cockstag, right?
Yeah, just a consistent meter eater, hardworking, effort area fullbacks, not your flash and brilliance. I think the Rabbits would be a good fit for him. And how's Chriso not counting a bye as a win? This dude's come on, Chris, be better.
Love you, Chris, mate. Love you. Yeah, no, I think the Melbourne Storm is a decent shout from you, though, when you brought that up the other day. Like, if you're able to get a wing spot down there and probably lock it down, he could have a very similar sort of look like a Fox on the wing if they did the right things there.
Maybe the Rabbits, bro, you know, they always seem to go through injuries of outside backs. But maybe the Cowboys, if they don't get Cobbo, maybe they'll chase Sloan. So maybe, yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
Very interesting. Keep an eye out, guys, because we may even lose him to Super League. That might be a factor. He could be a Man of Steel winner.
Or a Perth. Once they come in, somebody might sign him for a 1-year deal.
That's actually a great shout there too, bros. Quickly as well, we got Talon Da Silva hitting the market due to the Tigers prioritising Api Coruscant to re-sign Api Coruscant. I think Api Coruscant are trying to get a 1-year deal done, an extension done for him. But that pushes out Talon Da Silva, bro. Your thoughts here? You know, do you think the potential is there? Who would be chasing someone like a Talon Da Silva? We got the Cowboys out there chasing a hooker. What's your thoughts there?
I haven't really fully seen the talent there, to be completely honest with you. And that's not being blunt. I haven't really watched him closely and gone, I don't sit there and go, shit. I don't sit there and go, he's great. But like, I don't notice him in games like I noticed Harry Grant, you know, that stint he had at the Tigers, or Api Coruscant coming through. So I don't see the full-blown talent that everybody's got the hype around. I'm sure he's good. He must be good. Everybody talks about him. But I didn't know that it was only a 1-year deal that they're going to re-sign Api for, which is, if that's the case, and then they're looking to move him on, that's completely silly. Because if Talon Da Silva's leaving, that should be your next up for Api. Instead, now you're going to go shop the market once Coruscant's gone, or you're stuck with Coruscant again for another year. I find it a little weird. And I've seen somebody say that it's Mitch Moses and Teddy all over again, losing Galvin and Da Silva. I probably wouldn't go that far, to be honest, on saying that these two guys are Teddy and Mitch Moses, but potential. I don't know. I find it a weird one, but the guy also made a good point. It's the one that had the feud with Gould. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Carianis. Is it Carianis?
Yeah. And he made a really good point of, if you have a really good system, guys want to stay a part of that system and will buy their time in New South Wales Cup and learning off these guys. And he made a good point that Hugo Savalas already said that he'll happily play Cup next year if Cherry Evans comes, to learn off him. You don't have guys doing that at the Tigers. They're not wanting to buy their time there and learn off the guys there. So I don't know if it's a culture issue they have of maybe Api Coruscant and Jerome Luai not necessarily wanting to train these guys up to take their jobs, or if it's just a club issue and they don't really treat anybody not in first grade too well, or I don't know. I'm not going to make the assumptions, but it's red flags that this kid, if they are only signing Coruscant for 1 year, that he won't want to wait 1 more year to learn off him, and then the jersey's his. He would rather just go somewhere else and start fresh.
Yeah, I was trying to confirm that. I'm pretty sure I saw that they were only chasing him for a 1 year extension. And I think that's what pushed Talon to say, like, I'm not sure what's going on here, so I'm going to continue on. It may be 1 to 2. Keep an eye out. It may definitely differ, but because of his age, I think they're only going for a short-term contract turnover. But I agree with you. Like, it does feel like a cultural thing. Like, again, taking it from what other things that I know a little bit deeper, but with the Warriors, that what made me so happy to hear is, you know, seeing teams like the Cowboys and that were chasing like a Tanner Boyd, and Tanner chose to stay with us. So the Warriors play New South Wales Cup under, you know, Luke Metcalf and fight for his ability. There must be something good there to where he's getting good communication from the coach to be like, these are the things you still need to keep working on, and you're doing a great job, but you know, this is what, and he's developing as a halfback, which would get him a better move in the future if he was to be hunting that way. You know, we got Tane Chua-Piki as well, who everyone wants him to play first grade, and fullback is good enough to do so under Chance Nickel-Clockstack, but he's just buying his time and learning and learning and learning. And when he gets his opportunity, I'm sure he's going to take it with 2 hands too. So it seems the opposite with that, whether it's a communication thing from Benji not communicating, hey, like, this is what I need you to work on, and you will have the ability in the future to win a bench spot or win a number 9 spot when RP leaves. Like, whether it's a communication thing. So, you know, we see other clubs, you know, be able to hold on to that talent like this for a longer period of time. But also maybe it's a manager thing too of like, you know, I'm sure that I can take him to the market, get a bit of money for him, and probably pushing that sort of move either. So there's a lot of different things at play here, but I agree with you on that sense of like, you know, sometimes it could be a culture like issue to see young kids like this, but not buying their time at a club and moving over early.
I think so, brother. Or they don't trust in the system or the coach or the board. You know, so there's a lot going on there. And we know that the Tigers have had board issues for such a long time now.
Yeah, 100%. It all comes down to good communication, and that builds a good culture. Just keeping this touch with this kid and be like, hey, we want you. You're our future. You just need to keep learning this. And like, you know, as I said, a good board always, that's why the best teams always have the best boards, the best CEOs, stuff like that. They do the right things at the top of the competition. All right. That were the last little ones that we got going around there. Did we miss any more?
Selwyn Cobbo.
We're touching on Selwyn Cobbo, brother. The move of Selwyn Cobbo. So it's now been confirmed Grant Anderson is signed. So he was signed on earlier, but I think it's definitely confirmed now, because there was rumors that maybe there was going to be a backflip there of him staying with the Melbourne Storm. He is now coming over, and that pretty much puts a stake in the whole, like, they've re-signed Karapani too. They're going to be looking down that track. And Stags. And Reynolds. So... There's no money go around there for Selwyn, bro. So Selwyn on the move. You know, your thoughts on that move there, and maybe some clubs that you think are going to be chasing him. Like, you got the Cowboys that are rumored, but who else can be in there for Selwyn Cobbo?
I think it's a great move for the Broncos, in all honesty. He's asking for, I think it was, $700K a season to potentially play center, fullback, those types, when for me he hasn't even played his best footy as a winger for a couple of years now. I believe the talent's there. I just believe the fit and the system and the comfortability at the club is not a fit anymore for Selwyn, and he doesn't want to put in the hard yards, and I think that's why he's finding himself playing New South Wales Cup right now. I think it's great for the Broncos. I've seen so many news articles of Broncos supporters saying they've just thrown their future away, this, that, the other. Well, I actually look at it a different way, and they're investing in their future a lot more by keeping someone like Adam Reynolds around. So Cody Black, is it Cody?
Kobe, yeah.
Kobe Black. Kobe Black can learn off someone like Adam Reynolds, and just get that time under Adam Reynolds for a lot longer. And keeping Adam Reynolds at the club now, if he retires with them, he will find himself in a trainer's job there at the Broncos, and that's going to be so beneficial for the Broncos' future, more so than Selwyn Cobbo, who you're going to get a good game out of once a year. You know, I think that's 100% the right move for the Broncos, is shipping off this potential $600K, $700K price tag that's not, for me, going to live up to it, and letting somebody else have that problem.
Yeah, you can't just continue to try and hold everything. Like, you know, there's a saying, I won't do the saying here on thing, because it's a horrible way to say things, but there's a saying when you do video editing is basically like, you know, you don't want to, especially on YouTube and stuff like that, when you put things out on YouTube, you can't keep everything in there because it does feel like it's just too much, right? And it's with teams, right? You look at teams like I gave examples last night when we were having a chat of like, you know, the Gold Coast Titans where they've tried to keep all their stars of like AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, Keanu Kinney, and they're just trying to make him work and trying to fit him in spots and holding on big prices as well when they got Tinos and stuff like that, and it's hurting them in an overall team balance. And I think that this is a great business move for the balance of the Broncos. Like Karapani, for the price they're going to get him for, is going to do a great job on the wing. Like he's not going to be Selwyn Cobbo in those moments that he's going to be that freak of nature out of nowhere and he's going to have these big boom moments. But he's going to be a very consistent player out there. And who knows, he could become that player over time, right? Like that's what you're kind of banking on too. Selwyn, as you said, chasing 700K. A lot of that came from him playing Origin a couple of years back to where he hasn't touched that stage again since then. So really, like, it's a big margin to be put in there for a guy that's playing on the wing that wants to play fullback, but you got a fullback at the club that's doing a great job there. You got another young fullback coming through at Latrell Seagwalt that has a lot of praise and a lot of raps over him as well. You got a great halfback coming through the great Kobe Black. You got an experienced halfback, as you said, that can show him the ropes. Like there's not a spot for him, and unfortunately, clubs are just got to be like, hey, like we got to be balanced. We got to just cut our leg off here, or cut our. It's the phrases you got to cut off your baby sometime to make like the video nicer, or something like that, right? Unfortunately, if he goes to a different club and absolutely kills it at fullback, it just is what it is. But your team's going to be a lot more balanced because of it, because you're not holding on to a big price margin that's sitting on your wing, as you said, that could have one game every blue moon. That's an absolute banger, but he'll never hit his potential in that sort of area there if he doesn't play where he really wants to play, right? Yeah. And so I think it's a great move in both senses of Selwyn moving out of the Broncos, and if he wants to play fullback, he's got the opportunity now to show everyone, hey, I can do that and do that if he wants to do that. And with the Broncos, they got a cheaper guy that's going to do a great job on the wing and free up cash to where they can play with their squad in the future, which they've struggled with. It's been well known that they're having salary cap struggles right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's nothing but a smart move. You know, Reynolds would have took a pay cut to stay there. Grant Anderson's not going to be on massive money, and you're going to get such a good system player there, over Selwyn Cobbo, who's a flair and an attack once in a while type of guy. He's not your future when Reece Walsh is probably the same age, if not younger than him, playing fullback. Selwyn Cobbo's not going to be a half, so you need to keep the halves you got there, because halves are not very likely thing to get right now.
No.
So you got to develop with what you got, and Adam Reynolds is the best to develop their young guy coming through that they can get right now. So I don't see where he's going to be playing fullback at the Cowboys or the Dragons either, in my opinion. So I wish him all the best, and I hope he does get back to his form, but I think it's a great move for the Broncos, and Selwyn's really going to need to work hard in whatever club he goes to next.
Yeah, 100%. And quickly, before we jump off it as well, and maybe a couple more teams that we can throw out there, I just wanted to say too, with the Broncos, just to add on to that point, they've still got Dean Mariner at the club as well, that has have that talent and that explosiveness that he has as well. He's got high potential. Like the Broncos system is known for just bringing up these kids as well that are absolute guns. So it's not like they're going to be moving this kid on. He may be a world type player, right, in the future. Who knows? But at the moment, he's not showing that consistently enough to be like, all right, yeah, we're going to lock you in. You're the guy for us for the future. Yeah. Like, you got Dean Mariner and all that's there that you could just move into, and maybe he ends up moving on as well. But it's smart business going around these routes, moving money around on players that are doing a great job consistency wise, where you're going to keep your money in your spine. You got Reece Walsh there, Adam Reynolds, Ezra Mann's probably going to get money, or he's got money anyway there, and Benny Hunt's staying in at 9. And in the future, you got Moser, who re-signed with them there, so he's their future. Kobe Black's going to have to re-sign with them in the future as well to stay with them. Keep your money in your spine. Don't have it on a winger that could play a banger game every so often.
Exactly right. That sums it up for me, brother.
All right, and just quickly, so the Cowboys are definitely in the hunt for him. From all the rumors, I think they're probably the strongest rumor that I could see happening. I don't see him moving to Sydney with the Dragons. I just don't see it. And it was brought up before. He doesn't look good in a Dragons jersey. I don't know. Doesn't suit.
Well, he's flown to Sydney to see Wayne Bennett now at the Rabbits and the Dragons. So maybe, but I don't think anybody's going to want to pay what he wants.
No. It's going to take a bit of a scalp either way. And as I said, I think a lot of the pay packet has come off the back of an Origin jersey. And, usually when they hit Origin, they, managers see that as just dollar signs. And obviously he's got a ton of potential too. So everyone's going to be paying on potential in that sort of sense. But you also got to look at it as like, all right, so what has he done since that Origin jersey? Like, he hasn't won it back again. Like, he really hasn't. And I don't think he's in the frame to win it back in again right now anyway. We got Murray Taulagi, that's still out of the squad that I think I'll put in over him for sure. So Robert Toy's doing a great job.
Jackson Purdue coming through. A couple other guys there as well. So
yeah. The last one, Perth Bears. Do you think they have an opportunity here to maybe pick him up as one of their bigger first signings?
Yeah, but I don't know where he goes in the meantime. So
yeah.
Potential. If somebody signs him on a 1-year deal and then sees about a contract extension, that's what I'll be doing with somebody like Selwyn Cobbo. Motivate him.
Can you see the Dolphins coming in and giving him a little bit?
No, they have way too many outside backs.
Yeah. The Rabbitohs is a good one, as in like the culture, obviously indigenous and like cultural. It makes sense in that sort of way. And Wayne Bennett being at the club, he can probably like really nurture him in the best way possible, as he's done to a lot of great players before him. But I don't see him going to Sydney for any other club. Like, as I said before, I don't see him going to Sydney for Dragons under Shane Flanagan, who's going to be a fairly hard coach on him. He wants to stay at home close to Brizzy because he grew up there. I heard the rumours for ages of him going to New Zealand, but I don't see that. That's a really big move for a bloke like him. So the Cowboys for a year until Perth, maybe, if they're willing to do it.
Yeah, Perth's a long way from Brisbane, though.
It is a very long way. Yeah, so he's caught at a crossroads. He's got to figure out what he wants and what he can get. And if the manager's hunting for too much money, maybe he just needs to look to, take what he can get.
Yeah, take what he can get. Take a 1-year deal if you have to, and really prove yourself that you're worth the money.
That's the biggest thing. Just prove yourself out there. All right. Any more news you want to touch on before we jump into our team of the week and all that, brother?
No, I think that's all.
I think we've done it. Yeah, we've done a great job, mate. That was a real good little segment there.
Yeah, a bit to get through.
Yeah, 100%. Appreciate you guys in the chat, always jumping in and chatting your heart's content. I see you guys going absolutely amazing. GT, good to see you in there as well. Tans, what's happening?
Chuck up your team of the week when we jump into it, boys. We'll see if we can name it you guys.
All right, let's go 1 for 1. Fullback of the week, bro. Who you got?
Oh, give me a sec, bro. I was watching the chat. It's entertaining the peeps.
Look at this, man.
My fullback of the week was Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah,
you have to read out the chats for me as well, brother, because I can't see.
I will do. I had Reece Walsh. I thought Latrell had an incredible game, but I just went with the storyline of Reece, stepping up in that game against the Sharkies, doing what he did.
Yeah, a little beautiful heartfelt moment there as well with the little girl from Juice TV there that he did a little story with throughout the week and then took it to the game. So, shout out to that work that we don't get to see as much as we probably should that the rugby league players are doing.
Exactly, bro. Negative media, unfortunately, takes away from all that, and that's the most unfortunate part about media. Tans has got Trell. Tahi's got Trell. We got a lot of Trell, and I see Trell for sure. I think that his performance is incredible. Like, those passes he's laying on AJ at the moment. Yeah. AJ might do this in a canter this year, breaking the record.
Oh, 100%. He'll do it in the next 3 games.
Oh, it's crazy. The way he's in form, and like Supercoach guys, we'll be touching on Supercoach a little bit later on. I'm sure the question of Trell will probably come up very, very shortly within the next coming weeks at least. Moving to the wings, bro. Who have you got in your wing?
Well, speaking of AJ, it had to be him, one of them. And I went with Marky Mark.
Yo, yeah, I had the exact same wingers, bro. Both incredible performers. I want a big shout out though. Tom Jenkins, I don't think he's been spoken enough. I thought he was really big for the Panthers over the weekend against my Warriors. Him and Alamonte were incredible.
I didn't get to watch too much of your game as I was out, but I did see the scoreline ticking over. So, yeah, AJ and Lomax. Yeah, no, I see that, Chris. But you're just biased, mate.
I did think Lomax. I think Lomax ran for like 200 meters after Origin and all that. So great performance from him too. 100%. Centers of the week, bro.
I went with BRODIE Best, and I think I went with Herbie Farmworth again.
Yeah, Herbie's been incredible there. I think I had just voters fatigue here, but I went Bradman Best for sure, and I went Katoni Staggs. I think Katoni Staggs' form for the last couple of weeks has been big.
Yeah, I was at the game live, and he got man of the match, and
I don't think it was man of the match worthy. I thought
No.
Reece and that Payne was a big factor
Payne
there.
Haas deserved man of the match, but yeah, I seen he got man of the match, and I was like, the fuck? I know he had a good couple of runs there, and he did all right, but I was like, man of the match, I don't know, but I thought he was good, so I can see that shout there.
Yeah, and I think that he's been really key for the Broncos switching their form around. I brought it on Wise Up TV last night where he's started to take it to the contest a lot more instead of allowing the contest to come to him, and the Broncos are starting to take it to the contest more without allowing it to come to them. So
yeah, and I think they're just giving him a bit more early ball.
Yeah, allow him to do his thing. We know how damaging he can be. Moving to the halves, bro.
I went with Kieran Foran and I went with Brad Snyder, brother.
Oh, these are two great shouts for I haven't seen these shouts around, so I love that.
Yeah,
Kieran Foran.
I didn't think so. I've never thought I'd write those two guys' names in the halves, but here we are.
Yeah, Brad Schneider did have a great game against us. I went Dean Hawkins, and I went the other guy that was next to Brad Schneider. I went with Blaze Talangi. I think he's been a revelation now for the last couple of weeks for the Panthers.
Yeah. I did think Dean Hawkins. I'm glad he's got the spot again this week. He's no Mitch Moses, but he's doing the job to fill in and really use Lomax the way he needs to be used.
Yeah, he was incredible out there as well. Your Foran shout's a great one too, because I think Foran I thought was really, really good for the Titans over the weekend. Just squared him up a lot better than what I've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think he's turned the clock back a little bit the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and just having a direct half like that's systematic as well. He gets him to the points, but he just squares up the line so well and creates so much space on his outside. Unfortunately, not getting the win against Parramatta, but I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, I agree, GT. Stags' defense was still caught out a fair bit.
Yeah, at times he can get found out like that, and hopefully we can take advantage of that this weekend with the Warriors.
Hopefully. I don't want to watch another Broncos win.
Moving to the front row, bro.
Bro, this dude's been massive. It's Josh Papali'i. He's turned the clock back, bro. 2-3 weeks in a row now. You could throw your hat in the ring for Papali'i here. Beast. And I went with Payne Haas, bro. No surprise.
Yeah, I went Payne Haas, and again, touching on my game, I thought Moses Leota was fucking mental out there. I think that for them to do what they did against us, for sure, I think that we didn't hit our potential in that game for sure. We got a lot to learn from in that game there, but I think it was due to a lot of the physical battle, and I think Moses Leota led that from the front.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't watch that, but I can imagine he would have took that game personally against James Fisher-Harris.
Yeah. And do we need to weekly glaze Payne Haas here? Because I just want to quickly touch on to do what he does in Origin and then to bounce out and did what he did for the Brisbane Broncos over the weekend with a niggling injury is what's been reported. What are we dealing with here? This guy's fucking mental.
You need a tranquilizer to stop him, and I don't even think that would work. So.
Well, surprisingly, I've heard James Fisher-Harris has been stopped by border security for bringing a tranquilizer. So hopefully he can bring that through and get it done against Payne Haas this weekend.
He's going to need it.
Take his head off.
That'll be the only way, brother. Just HIA him.
You have to, bro. Oh, what a great player. Number 9, bro. Who's getting these boys around the park?
Ooh, I went with Harry Grant, but Blake Brayley again, another great performance.
Yeah, I was right there with you. I went Harry Grant and I've slashed Blake Brayley as well.
Literally bang on. I wonder if anybody in the chat had anybody different there.
Yeah, let us know, guys.
In the chat. But I think, those two guys have been the most informed hookers the last few weeks.
Oh, 100%. And Supercoach Wise is telling that as well. I think both of them scored very well over the weekend. Moving to the edge back rollers, bro.
I went with Scotty Sorensen. It was a set and forget there.
Yeah.
And I actually went with Luke Garner on the other side as well.
Oh, yeah. Massive game from Lukey. He caused a lot of issue out there. I went Britton Nikota and Scotty Sorensen.
The only reason I didn't go Nikora is I watched him in defense a lot, and there was a few moments where he had some pretty bad misses. The one-on-one tackle on Walsh, and then another one there for, I think it was the Shibasaki try, where he was just kind of ran into Hines and sort of knocked him over.
That one, yeah.
So that's why I've kind of just gone, I couldn't go with him, but attacking-wise, he's found his form again for sure.
Yeah, and shout out to super coaches that have jumped on him early. They're feeling it. They're loving him now. It was good. He was a good price at one period there. And who's going to be our 13 of the week, my bro?
Riley Smith, Chris. Come on, bro. Look, don't get me wrong. I do like Riley Smith's game. I really do think he's good.
He's putting Joey Lussick.
Yeah, Donahue. I like the Donahue shout. Lock, bro. I couldn't come up with one. I went with Xavier Willison.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice one there. I went with Corey Horsburgh. I thought he was a real big member in that first game of the weekend for the against West Tigers. I thought that caused them a lot of issues. I know it was a low scoring game, but he was a standout for me, especially the way he was bouncing off onto points and his deadly offload that he has every so often.
Yeah, see, I didn't even get to watch that game. I didn't know he played lock, but yeah,
it was a dire game to watch. It sucked to watch.
I was just searching for a lock, and I came up with Xavier Willison, even though I'm pretty sure he played front row when he came off the bench. So
I'm not going to hold it to you. I was going to say, I'm not going to hold it to you. Old Simi Sasungi playing on the edge this week too, brother. So I hit the nail on the head.
Make sure he's second row this week. You probably put him in a center or something.
Yeah, probably. Wait for it, bro. Wait for it. All right, moving to our other segments, bro. Hit of the week. I don't have one currently right now, so I'm hoping you bring up a good one.
You didn't watch any? You didn't see?
No,
you didn't catch any?
I didn't catch any that I can put out there and be like hit of the week from memory.
I went Will Kennedy on Katoni Staggs, and then there was also Talakai on Katoni Staggs, where both times Staggs got absolutely crunched. So I guess for him to get up from that makes him player of the game for the Broncos.
Yeah, any man that's got to go up against Talakai in the centres that week is going to be in for a tough little task. So,
but Will Kennedy put a really good shot on him. Really good shot on him.
That was the one. It was just that classic under the ball, lift and tackle.
Yeah, it was like a half line break or something. So.
Yep. I think I remember for that one. Dylan Brown on Jared Sutton.
Another 2 weeks.
All right, moving over to try of the week, bro. Who do you have?
Bro, do I need to say it?
Yeah, Mark Nwanga-Nitawase.
That's the one, bro. Dude's a fucking freak. He's getting try of the year for sure. Whichever try you want to pick. You
can pick them all. Pick any of them. Bro, the athleticism of this kind is different.
Yeah, dude's an absolute freak, bro.
And shout out to Savala, who was a major contributor of that try as well. That your back. It was a massive moment there with Savala. Player of the week.
Payne Haas for me, bro.
Yeah, I hit you right there.
Yeah, just on the back of Origin. I read his stats out from what he did in Origin to what he's backed up and done on Saturday. So, yeah, Payne Haas. Shout out to your players of the week in the chat. Who did you guys have your most standout for the week?
Yeah, Joey Lussick, I think, is going to be Chris's for this. Going.
Probably be Mitch Moses or something.
Yeah. And lastly, I think maybe this could be, I don't know if we have the same one. I felt like this one of the standouts, but who was your egg of the week?
Yeah, I went with the funny one this week, and it's Terrell May.
Oh, okay. Yo, it's not what I went, but I can see it.
Yeah, walking backwards and tripping over the signs and trying to act still serious.
That's a good one. Fuck, I totally forgot about that one. That will clear my mind until you said it. I went with Cam Munster running out with the Rabbitohs, and I think, and it hits the kid. Shout out to Cam Munster, bro. He just always brings the goods for this shit.
Yeah, and then he just stood to the side and was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna stand here and wait."
I can't wait to hear what happened there, because obviously they have a podcast, him, Papenhuyzen, and Husey. I'm sure they're gonna bring it up, and there's gonna be like a story behind it. I reckon the Storm boys have done him a dirty there. I reckon.
Yeah, I think so too. I reckon they stitched him up. You going out that one, brother? And then they all just stood back and waited.
Pretty much, bro. Pretty much. So that's our team of the week and all that, guys. Make sure you jump in. Thank you so much for jumping in also and giving your team of the week.
Other egg of the week might have been Spencer getting folded by Lindsay.
Oh, pick which time, eh? You know, every time off the kickoff, I was like, all right, he's coming back for, no, this didn't happen this time.
Nope, so, never mind. And we'd normally see Collins get fucking smashed.
Yeah. Origin Collins, when he is found his form, is a different sort of bloke. And it was good to see him out there and actually playing, because the game one, I think he left a lot to be desired in that first game. It's good to see that he had a decent performance in game two there.
100%.
All right. Moving over to our weekend preview, guys, and then we got some Supercoach, and then we'll get off into our, we'll jump off offline. But weekend
Chris,
preview.
They will support whichever one's in the 8, brother, which is both, unlike the Eels.
What's he on? Who are the Panther supporters going to support this Thursday? Oh, yeah, okay. I see the chat. You get this all the time, bro. Shout out to Lockie. Where is Lockie? He should be in the chat. He always throws up this argument here.
I was waiting for this argument here, but, come on. Let's go.
Yeah, you got to win them, mate. You got to win them. And talk about that. Your first game of the weekend, the Penrith Panthers versus the Bulldogs there at Combank Stadium. The Penrith Panthers get all their returns of Origin: Brian To'o, Dylan Edwards, Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, and Nathan Cleary. I did not read out Luke Summerton's name in there this week, mate. I didn't add them all in from Origin back in. So, and with your boys,
smart move.
With your boys, Kurt Mann, Matty Burton, Max King, all been there, and Stephen Crichton as well. Your thoughts on this matchup here? Penrith starting to find some form now, especially with their some would say B side over the weekend. How are you feeling about this contest?
Look, a little bit nervous, to be honest, because the Panthers are finding some form. They're desperate for wins. But, hopefully the boys are refreshed after a bye, on a high after, the Stars coming back from Origin. So, really keen to roll into this part of the season with hopefully no more injuries. But, one more Origin period to get through and just cruise home. I'm really keen to watch this game. I think this one's potential for game of the round.
Yeah, 100%. This is going to be one of those games too. It's going to be an absolute smash fest. Like everyone's going to be out there. The physicality that the Panthers played with over the weekend against the Warriors was a big standout. And again, that came without Nathan Cleary, Brian To'o, Liam Martin. Like Liam Martin's going to be a big contributor, I reckon. Out there, smashing, grabbing.
Well, he's got a big job on Viliami.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm really excited to see this game. I've been reluctant to say that Penrith have been back, and that for a little period now, until it smacked me right in my own mouth with the Warriors going down over the weekend. Not to say that that's the only performance that I'm saying, hey, they're back, but they're showing things to say that, all right, this is the old system starting to filter back in again. Like their physicality over the weekend was massive.
Even if it's not in 80-minute performances, if they squeeze into the 8, I'm worried.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Ivan's going to get them right in finals. Finals is completely different. If they limp into the finals and then a full strength to the finals, I would be worried.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you, bro. But for this game here, how are you feeling? What's your score? What do you reckon?
Doggies 1-12.
Doggies 1-12. I am going to go Panthers 1-12. Ooh. I think that it's going to be a real tight one. I think that Penrith, especially seeing what they did over the weekend without their Origin stars, I think their big boys are going to want to jump in and be like, hey, that was without our boys there. They got to win. We got to step it up and show these young boys that we can do it on our own too.
Scroll down there and show me who's in the centers.
Isaac Tungo, Casey McLean. That's still a big one there.
Casey McLean and Tommy Jenkins on Karazin, Stephen Crichton. I'm taking my chances. Taking my chances.
That is a great battle.
Plays to Alungi as well. Like, come on, Ash.
Yeah, that is a good battle.
Dominant Doggies here. I might even change it to 13 plus.
I love it. Well, yeah, I can't wait to see this game, bro. As I said, as you said, this has the possibility to be game of the round, not for the big athletic, try scoring or anything like that. I think this is going to be a smash and grab sort of game. Who was refereeing, Chris said?
Probably fucking Sutton.
Grant Atkins.
That's all right, I guess.
Let's see how we go. Moving over to the Manly Seagulls versus the West Tigers at 4 Pines. So, obviously, the big news in this game, Tommy Trbojevic is definitely playing centre this weekend, and Lehigh Hopewadi playing at fullback. I'm right there with you too. Ruben Garrett going back to a wing. I think that's a massive call as well. That's a great call. And keeping Tommy Talau there, who has been competing week in, week out for the Manly Seagulls. So,
yeah.
West Tigers down without, they brought in Latu Fainu in that 7 jersey. That Heath Mason goes back to fullback. No Jareem Buller. Struggle to see him get up here against this Manly Seagulls side at 4 Pines. Yeah.
Well, I don't know at the moment with Manly, but I really like the move of Trbojevic. More quality touches, I think we'll see out of him, more so than just the dog work. And I think that's going to benefit him a lot until he finds his confidence. So,
Yep.
but yeah, Manly for me, I'm going to go 13 plus late.
I still think like they're going to dealing without Ola Kawatu, and that hampers them a little bit on that shape on that right side. But then they've put Tom Trbojevic there too now, so it kind of like all right. So now I can see it again. So I'm going to go Manly 13 plus. I think they can push it out a margin late in this game. Yeah, I think that's probably the way it's going to go there. Probably more. Sometimes it can be a wet track down there, so I'm not sure what the weather's like in Sydney. But keep an eye out on your weather guides there, guys. Yeah.
Weather guys there, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, do you see that? Weather guides there, guys. Tongue twisters.
I heard it.
Moving on. We got the Newcastle Knights versus the Canberra Raiders at McDonald Jones Stadium. Big news here. Fletcher Sharp out due to a laceration of the liver. Is that it? The liver. No, kidney. Sorry. Kidney.
Yeah, kidney. Yeah.
Kidney. And also a ruptured spleen as well. I think there was a rumor of that too.
Yeah. It's a bit going on there with him. So hopefully he gets right and gets fit, because we don't want to see that. He's been a talent so far this year.
Yeah, if there's anyone that knows his pain, I did a little bit different, but back in under 20s days, guys, a little story about old Ash. Ended up in ICU for a night because I cut and bruised my liver. Very similar thing. Got smoked. Well, actually, no, different tackle. His tackle didn't look at like I got smoked by some bloke at Waterford at the end of the game. And so I know what he's dealing with. I had 6 months out. I had a decent chunk of a year out that year. I only played the last 2 or 3 games.
That's correct. Yeah. You were out for a fairly long time.
Yeah, so just like a car crash, guys. So feel for him. So I hope he's doing well. I'm sure they're doing all the precautionary checks and stuff, and he'll be back and ready to go. If I can make it back, he can make it back. So
yeah, big loss for them. Big loss for sure.
100%. But Jackson Hastings comes into that 6 jersey with Jack Cogger. I don't like this Haas pairing in general because I think it takes away from what Jacko Hastings does. Like, he's not a 6. He's not a running type of player. They're both similar players. But a good win for the weekend for the Newcastle Knights. But Canberra, they've been really strong and they continue to be strong. Do you see an upset here with Newcastle, or do you think Canberra just keep on rolling?
I think Canberra keep rolling, even resting Hudson. So I'm going to go Canberra 13 plus in this one too. But I agree with Chris. This is going to be a bit of a yawn fest.
Yeah, I can see this as well. Newcastle Knights games have just been that. I think that was a major surprise over the weekend with the Dolphins. But yeah, I don't see it happening again right now.
No, I don't either.
I'm going with you there, bro. I'm going Raiders 1-12. I think I think it's going to be one of those sort of games. Moving over to the Brisbane Broncos versus the New Zealand Warriors at Suncorp Stadium. We get Kurt Capewell back, Rocco Berry back in the centres, Edward Gossie replacing Dallin Martini-Zelezniak, who was injured over the weekend as well. Luke Metcalf has been named in this game, even though carrying that cork quad. No news out there if he's still dealing with it, seeing how they're going there. But he's been named, so I'm basing it on just being a cork quad, so he should be out there. With the Brisbane Broncos, pretty much no changes from the win last week, bro. Your thoughts on this game? Can the Warriors come over after an embarrassing loss over the weekend and get it done against the Broncos side that looking like they're informed by form guide? But yeah.
It's hard to say. I think your defense will win you this game, but I'm a little worried about your right side edge defense with Cossie coming in. And we know the Broncos love that left side attack. So if you guys can keep that under control, I'll see you guys winning this 1-12. But if not, just judging off the performance on the weekend, the Broncos could definitely get this done 1-12 as well. But Broncos defense for me on the weekend was still not there. Yeah, their attack looked good, but your defense is a lot better than Sharkies. I'm going to go you guys 1-12 still.
Yeah, I completely agree with all those sentiments. I think this is a tough game for us, especially with the Broncos, the way they are. Like Ezra Mem coming back into that Broncos side. Now they're starting to play a little bit more direct in moments when they're running off of Payne Haas and stuff like that.
Yeah, the offloads.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one there. We've dealt with offloads in the past as well. Reece Walsh, again, as I said, like he's choosing a run first option now. Well, he did over the weekend. Hopefully he keeps holding on. Well, hopefully not for us, but for him himself. that opens up his game so much more. And he's got a devastating running game. He just needs to use it instead of just relying on those cutouts. But I'm going Warriors 1-12. I think that we're going to step up and learn the lessons of the weekend. I think it's going to be a close one, though, because I do think the Broncos are starting to find the formula just a tad. But I'm not fully buying into the Broncos just yet. We've got to see better performances still week in, week out.
100%. You know, the Sharks had that game won and threw it away. So I think you guys can hold on a lot better.
Yeah. So hopefully it gets done. I'll be at the game. Did you get tickets to that game as well?
Yeah, bro. Yep. I'll be at the game as well.
Yep. Brody will be at that game, guys. So, guys, yeah, if you go see us out there, make sure you say hello. And hopefully I'll be with a smile on my face with a nice dub from the Waz.
For sure. I don't want another Broncos win, brother. I don't want it.
Actually, I hate... Oh, why'd you have to turn up to this game, brother? Some called Broncos? Fuck.
Don't tell me that.
Don't make it a jinx, please.
Yeah. Third time the charm, I reckon.
Yeah, let's hope. The Dragons versus the Parramatta Eels at Wynn Stadium at a Wollongong. Shout out to Chris in the chat. How are you feeling about this game? Make sure you chuck in the chat your thoughts here. He's probably going to say Eels 13 plus or maybe a big margin. Who knows?
It was 13 plus, and here we go.
Shout out. Yeah, Farah 13 plus. Hawkins man of the match. Lomax at 40-meter field goal. So 40-meter field goal at half time. It's just not to go ahead or win the game if you go on 13 plus, but
it's probably to make it 13 plus, I reckon.
Yeah, just to put a dagger in. But your thoughts on this game here, brother? The Dragons get Valentine Holmes back. Christian Tuipulotu has been named on the wing as well. With the Parramatta Eels, Dylan Brown returns. Will Penasini falls out of the lineup there. I'm pretty sure due to suspension from memory, right?
Yep. Yeah, suspension. Yep.
So San Rami comes in on the center on that side. So your thoughts on this game, bro? Who have you got?
Yeah, Lomax anytime, and I can't go with the Dragons. They've been pretty woeful. I got to go with the Eels 1-12.
Yeah, if we're going off for form here, I'm going to go Parramatta to continue on doing what they're doing and slowly changing their season around. Parramatta 1-12. I think it's going to be a 1-12 contest.
Yeah, I think it'll be a close one either side, and we'll see what happens.
Yep. All right, last game on your Saturday, we got the Dolphins versus Rabbitohs at Suncorp Stadium. Wayne Bennett going up against his old squad. Have they done it again? That's the second time this year, the first time?
Yeah, they played round one, remember?
They did,
went to Sydney when it was supposed to be in Suncorp. That's
right. So now this comes back to Suncorp. Wayne Bennett returns to the place that he made.
Yeah, how dodgy from Suncorp, and you can understand, but, you know, Warriors game at 3, kick everybody out, bring in a new crowd for this game. I think it could have been managed better, or maybe potentially play this game out of Redcliffe or a different day, something. But just they're just going to go with let's boot them out, clean it, and then get new fans in again.
That's one thing I want to bring up too. Suncorp Stadium is just getting an absolute beating at the moment due to scheduling, and you know having the Dolphins playing very similar nights of where the Broncos are playing. You know they've got rugby just finished up, but you know they had Queensland Reds playing on similar days. They've had the Roar and that like that field's getting fucking tore up at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, they need to put a bigger stadium in somewhere, better stadium, new stadium. Well, not better. You can't get much better than Suncorp, but a new stadium and another big stadium. Sydney's got fucking more than enough. So why not give, Brisbane another big one?
Yeah, just make KO just a little bit bigger if they're able to find a way. Like I know they got the outside fields there, like trying to figure out something to do with there. Or North Harbour, mate. We got a little bit of Burpengary here. We got a little bit of space out back.
Yeah, just chucking a massive stadium, you reckon?
Yeah, just chuck one out there, mate. I'll happily go to those games.
You walk to them?
Yeah, pretty much. But did want to touch on that just a tad. I thought I had something else to bring up. But anyway, yeah, Dolphins and the Rabbits, bro. Dolphins having a drop in form over the weekend, losing to the Knights. Do you see them bouncing back against this Rabbitoh side that looks really, really good? Full strength, nearly.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Rabbits will be better again attack-wise, but I don't think, Walker adds much defense-wise. I'll go with the Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I'm going to go with Dolphins 1-12.
I'm going to go the Rabbits because I feel like the Rabbits have been so close and so close and so close. I feel like they've just got to get over the edge at one point there, the way Latrell's playing his football. I feel for the Dolphins to go 2 losses on a trot there too, which is tough to say because it's just going off form, like, you know. But I think I'm going to go to Rabbitohs 1-12. I think this one can go different ways. Wayne Bennett masterclass, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and I can see it.
I like Tarns here. Great little bet here. She's got Bunnies 1-12, Tui Pelotu, and AJ anytime. So Tui Pelotu probably for the Dragons game, and then she's added that with AJ anytime.
I'm guessing. I like it. I like it. I would go Lomax anytime.
Yeah. Yeah, Lomax would be a good one. So, yeah, I'll meet you at the toilets at Suncorp there so we can see 2 games this weekend, yeah?
Yeah, we're high up, top tier.
Shout out to Suncorp Stadium. All right, moving over to the Melbourne Storm versus the Sharkies at Amy Park, this one. So, obviously, the Sharkies got it done at Shark Park. The Melbourne Storm trying to get vengeance at their own home ground, bro. How do you see this game going?
They'll be back in a big way for this one. I'm going Melbourne 13+.
Yeah, I think so too. The Sharkies, are you starting to get a little bit worried about them?
No, because it's the Sharks.
They'll find more wins later on, yeah, right? But
yeah, they're showing signs, but just to blow that game on the weekend was a little bit embarrassing. So, Melbourne too desperate for this one. Bellamy will have them fired up.
Do you just quickly too, because we got one more game to go to after this, but I think it's a good thought. Like, are you starting to remeasure your thoughts on sides due to the season that it is right now? Of like, let's say the Sharkies, right? They're still 8 wins they've had this year, so they still had some decent wins there, but they're losing a lot of uncharacteristic games. But the season has been the season that a lot of teams are losing uncharacteristic games. Like, are you starting to like kind of measure it like that now? And so like, to say that everyone's sort of overreacting about the Sharks not playing too well at the moment, or do you think that it's still worthy of a talking point for the Sharkies not going as well as what they say, even though winning 8 games this year?
It's still worthy because it's still the same Sharks we see last year, you know, where if this Sharks team cruises into the finals next week, you have no confidence that they're not going to last more than a week. Yeah, that's my opinion, and that's why it's still a talking point on their season so far. Yes, they've still had 8 wins under their belt, but they're still not showing 80-minute performances, the dominance week in, week out. You never know what you're going to get with Cronulla.
Yeah, and like, you know, the most consistent side of the top of the competition have been doing very well at like winning the games they should be winning. Like, you know, obviously the Warriors dropped the one over the weekend with the Panthers, and that's why I say people don't stress about that win with the Panthers one. Like, you know, the Warriors, like the competition is just one of those competitions this year where, you know, when teams get up for the day, they can get up on the day, right? But with the Sharkies, they just never had the steely edge for them for a little period now. Since that team that won the grand final, and it used to be known the Sharks grind out teams and games. Yeah, I'm not seeing it at the moment there too. So there's a little bit of a worry in that sense.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, last game of the round. We got to go goal. Oh, brother, Jesus, what happened there? Fucking hell.
Christ. It's been a long night.
Yeah, long night, bro. Long night. Got an early wake up again in the morning. But we continue on. The Gold Coast Titans versus the North Queensland Cowboys at Gold Coast at Cbus Super Stadium. No Jaden Campbell, which sucks for my Supercoach side. We'll get to that very, very shortly. And Carl Lawton is the only out for the Cowboys. Jake Clifford comes in and nicks that 6 jersey again, and their origin returns of Reece Robson and Ruben Cotter.
So the Cowboys are giving up on Purdue at 6. I like it. And, you know, now's the time to jump back on Drinkwater for Supercoach.
I know. It's crazy time. For me, we'll get to the Supercoach chat very, very shortly, but I would sway the way still. I think he's going to be better for the run, but I think, like, you know, I've done my dash with Drinky for this year, but you're 100% right. Like, if there's any time to jump back on Drinky, it'd be now that Purdue's moved back into that center
100%.
position.
100%. It makes no sense that Jake Clifford was told he's not playing around the rest of the year. And now, well, here we are after 2 very, very disappointing Cowboys performances.
Yeah. Coming to this game, with that change in itself, do you see the Cowboys getting back into form after some pretty horror form lately? Or do you think that the Titans can hold them to that horror form that they're conceding over 30 plus in each and every game at the moment?
I've actually got to agree with Chris on this one, but I'm going to go the Cowboys to bounce back and get a win. I think Jaden Campbell's too vital to the Titans.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a game for entertainment of just try scoring, because defensively both these teams have left a lot to be desired.
That's true.
So I'm going to go to Cowboys. I think they can get it done 13 plus in this game. But, you know, they could swing 13 plus to the Titans as well. Like, I'm not confident. Like, the attacking in this thing, like, the defense in these sides, I just don't see it. So, but I'm going to Cowboys to bounce back after their real horror run.
I agree, brother.
Surely Top Hayden puts a rocket up those blokes. So,
you would think so.
You'd think so. All right, guys, if you've held on to right now, held on to your Supercoach questions, we're moving over to our Supercoach portion of the show. So make sure you jump in. We'll give you our trades of the week, our captaincies of the week and that, and answer all your questions. It's been a great week for me and Supercoach, and great week for Brody.
Good bets.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairly few good bets. I like it.
Shout out to Tars, winning some money this weekend. So the weekly performers this week, guys. Alex Johnson with 137, incredible. Shout out to Lockie to bring him in. That was a left field move for me. I didn't expect anyone to bring in Alex Johnson this week, but
I guess it's smart. He got down to like as little as like 400k or 440k or something, and try scoring ability is through the roof. So.
Mark Nwangani-Swaze, 136, doing an amazing job there for me as well.
Please.
Bradman Best, 116, Payne Haas. Yep. Yeah, Brady looked really good. Really, really good. James Tedesco, Herbie Farmworth, the new normal contributors there. Isaiah Ongi getting back again. Great to see there. Great talent, Isaiah. I've already seen enough of the content around him. I think he's been incredible for the Parramatta Eels this year.
Yeah.
So well done to him. Brenton Nicoda, Scotty Sorensen, Jamin Jolliffe with a 98 for the Gold Coast Titans.
Nice little try there.
100%. Moving over to our league.
Laters, Chris.
Laters, Chris.
Too many Eels players in there, brother.
For some reason, this webpage is not loading for me, so I'll quickly take a little bit. Any other questions in the chat already? Here we go. Tahi's trades. Read those out for the time being, bro.
My trades are Marju and Mulatalo out, Karaz and Karapani in, which I really like both those moves. And vice captain is Karaz and captain is Herbie. And that's a lot of relaying what me and Ash were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
I'll come out and say right now, VC for me is Karaz this week as well. I think they're going to have a field day down that right edge, the Bulldogs. And I do like the Herbie shout as center, as captain. Me and Ash can't really decide a captaincy option. It's a little bit spoilt for choice this week.
It is. And like also with our loops, we'll get into that. It doesn't look like it's going to be an easy week to hold a player out to get your loophole either. So it might be one of those ones where you're just going to have to run with the captain and just pray that he's going to be having a banger. Yeah.
Tons. I've got Karapani and Tarps in and got rid of Horsburgh and DWS. Another great move. I think Tarpany's had a couple of low weeks and that's why he's definitely dipped, but he's back into it with the try on the weekend. Hudson Young getting rested. I think Ricky will start to gear up on playing his guns for big minutes now. He's got the fitness in his other guys. And Karapani's a no-brainer this week.
100%. All right, moving over to the weekend, bro. 1,463 for my boys, 1,421 for your boys over the weekend. Two great performances over there. So we're seeing green arrows, right?
Yeah, I shit the bed with my captaincy. Even if I just left it on Teddy, I would have got to the 1,500s, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. But we're climbing up these ranks, especially in our own league. Shout out to Liam. We are chasing you hard, my brother. I went lucky with obviously James Tedesco, Mark Nwangani-Swaze, two big scorers there. Tino with the 38 did not help me at all. But other than that, and JC, who ended up falling out of my average there anyway. But that was a bit of a bludger for me there. But any low points for you?
Yeah, Morgan Smithies, which I kind of knew. And then just my captaincy option. Other than that, I've had a great week considering I fucked the captaincy up.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to our Down Unders League.
I had Teddy as well, and I swapped it out because I thought
I remember that.
In for a big one.
Yeah, it did have a feeling like, because I'm pretty sure I was looking at Pappy at one point there too. But luckily I had Teddy and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to run Teddy and just pray for it.
Yeah, I should just leave it on a fronty.
Actually, who was my vice for that week? I think it was
Terrell May. Have a look.
Yeah.
I think it was Terrell May, yeah.
I think it was Terrell May. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. And just like Teddy's going to score a base that's going to be better than that anyway. So he ended up going that
And
well
he,
for
he
me.
wasn't
But
looking too good at halftime either for Teddy, but big
no.
second half.
Yeah, massive second half. Shout out to Liam as well. I've just jumped up to behind him in second place. Liam in first. Just jumping Serena Sinners. Shout out to you, brother. Brody jumping up to 8th spot as well. We are in the hunts to get back into the top of our own competition, yeah?
Trying hard, but you're still 400 from him, and I'm still 300 from you. So Tahi 1370. That's a big score, brother. It's a really good score.
Yeah, massive, brother, massive. My rank at the moment, 1,943, which very, very happy with. My trades for this week. I went a couple of trades this week. I'm pretty sure I saved a trade last week. I only went one trade from memory.
I think you've only done one the last 2 weeks now.
Yeah, so it gives me the ability to have a little play around here. So I brought in Karapani. I think he's been a big bring-in for the week to try and free up some cash there. I obviously had BRODIE holding there for a little while, so he's been my cash out. And then Dylan Edwards I brought in for JC. So JC, I'm pretty much just looking at it as I'm just going to wipe my hands clean there. I probably dudded him a little bit, jumping back on him at the time it is, and I think that, for the run home, just with this period, he's going to be missing a couple of games in a row there. Dylan Edwards, I know he's going to be missing Origin, but I just want to jump in early. I think that there's an ability for him to score fairly well this weekend with the amount of work the back three have to do against a dog side, a dog system. And I think that when after Origin, for the run home for the Panthers, they're going to be chasing an 8 still. So all their boys are going to be playing big minutes and doing as much as they can. So I want to jump on early.
Yeah, it's a nice sort of pod play as well, brother. I don't think many people have talked about Edwards yet. So, and look, I could be telling you the same stuff next week that I jumped back on Turbo and it was a dud trade, but we're going to soon find that out. But I can see where you come from with Campbell, brother. He was in killer form before he had the injury, and now he's unfortunate to have a head knock. It's smart to dust your hands with that type of money there.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to, cut it off, cut it loose. Like you made the wrong decision there and just move on forward. Lost a little bit of cash, but still have a lot of cash incoming, especially with Karapani coming in as well. If I ever am worried, and this year you shouldn't even be worried about squad value. I think everyone should have great squad value this year because the cheapies have been just going mental. So
yeah, the price increases have been huge this year. And shout out to Jose in the chat. He had Kurt Donahue in, Riley Smith out, and he had Hubner out and Laban in. Captain on Herbie and maybe on Pappy. I like it.
I like it too. I really do. Curious.
Talk us through this, Ash. It's stacked. Sorry, continue on as well what you're saying.
It's a stacked side, bro. And I think it's honestly been the best position I've been in for a bit. So it's very, very, very juicy. Dylan Edwards and Ryan Palpenhausen there in the fullback positions. James Tedesco's are currently on the bye. But once I have all those boys playing, it's going to be a good run home for me, hopefully.
Yeah, it's going to be a flip of the coin of who to leave out.
Yeah, so we talked about this before. There's options there for my vice captaincy. Dylan Edwards, Herbie Farnworth, Ruben Garrick is the ones we're looking at. Ruben Garrick is probably one that I'm really keying in on now. After the stream, I'll probably end up changing it. But again, as we touched on before, I'm struggling to really believe who I'm going to leave out to get that loophole if it is able to happen. So I think Talakai is probably going to be the one that we discussed before.
Yeah,
but
I think that'll be your best option, brother, to get that route.
I think it looks better if I do this, so let's just do that.
It does look better. I noticed that before on one of mine. I'd like Lomax. Oh, yeah, continue on.
Yeah, we'll touch there. But that back line is very nice. Herbie Farnworth, Asako, Valentine Holmes, Ruben Garrick, Mark Nwangani Swase on the bye there as well. Big key piece. Munster and Dewey is in my 6 still. Dewey's just going to be that member I think I'm just going to be keeping for a long period of time. He's doing a job.
You don't need anybody else there, brother. Look at that nice 68. He can fluctuate. He can be rolled around there in the centers. So leave him there, bro. You don't need another 6.
No. And I struggle this week on holding out reserves on certain players. Nico Hines hasn't got a reserve this week. Just unable to do so, as we see here. Yeah, Dylan Lucas, Ali Katoa.
I don't see a lot of points coming this week for Cronulla, in my opinion. I think Bellamy will make a statement point of beating Cronulla after the way that Melbourne towed up against them last time. Nico Hines normally struggles against Melbourne anyway. I think that's a smart move to leave him out, bro. And that back row line is looking stacked.
Yeah, it's stacked as well. I'm starting to get to where I kind of want to with my back row. Hudson Young would be a nice little piece, but with the injury, that's just pushed that out a little bit further, which is good to see.
After Origin, maybe.
I was going to have a little nibble at Jacob Preston. I was thinking about going Jacob Preston, especially for the run home. You know, the doggies being the way they are. But I'm just going to run with that at the moment. Front row, I'm trying to get Payne Haas in after Origin. That will be the move. And I've been very lucky to have Harry Grant through this period where he's clicked back into form. But you got a guy that's in form in that hooker jersey as well. So, yeah, that's my team for the week.
Yeah. Are you worried about Tino? I've seen a few people selling Tino. I'm not too worried. I think once we get past Origin period, he'll just be massive for the run home.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It was rumored that he was carrying a little bit of an injury through this period as well.
Yeah.
I remember the Origin squad, he's carrying a sternum injury and stuff. So, and he only played limited minutes for the Titans over the weekend. They brought him off the bench. So,
yeah,
I'm holding him. Like, we know what he can produce. Like, you know, I think a lot of this with Supercoach is kind of understanding history of, like, you know the guns that we know that are going to go really well when they find their time. And, you know, you got to find them in the right price. And I think that's a big key of Supercoach this year. Like, you know, jumping on certain players, like when we jumped on, let's say, Valentine Hearn, so, you know, Jermaine Asako at the price that he was, like, we know these guys can score and get back up to 800Ks when everything goes well, right? Yeah. Even though they haven't been doing it through that period. I think Tino's one of those guys that, you know, for the period now, he's going to go soft, but we know he can get back up to a 70 average upwards.
100%. And your Preston shout, brother, I love that shout. I would 100% go for it if Lockie Garvin got that 7 jersey. Right now, Sexton doesn't get enough ball as it is out on that right edge to Critter and Karaz. Between him running himself, trying to find ball for them, and trying to find ball for Presto, it's just not as many opportunities there, especially because doggies love that left side with kick out. Yep. I would hold off for now. But I do see that potentially being a great shout because we've seen the way that Presto started Supercoach this year.
And jumping over to your side quickly, still logging in, but there is another name that I've seen a couple of Supercoach content creators put out as a great pod that I know is in your side that feeds to that exact same point that you're kind of going down with one of your edge back rollers, but the other edge back roller, Viliami Kikau. We'll get to that very shortly. So jumping over your season rank at 5,000, you upgrade there 1,000 spots there. You're coming home very strong and you've got a lot of money to play with as well. So you're going to be a dangerous player for your run home. Your trades for this week, you Karapani as well, which I think a lot of people are going with at the moment. Zach Lomax, again, you're jumping early, very similar to me with Dylan Edwards. Explain.
If put it this way, if the Eels were playing somebody else other than the Dragons this week, I'd probably wait a week on Lomax. But other than that, old team back in the gong. It's going to be a massive game from Lomax. And, you know, he's not showing any sort of point fatigue there without Moses either. So I'm keen on jumping on him now. And Karapani, just a no-brainer. I've been holding Billy Smith for a while. He served me well on the weekend, but even with 2 tries, still only getting 77. Time to shift that on. And Karapani's going to give me good buy coverage still anyway, since the Broncos are now done. And Morgan Smitty's done a job for me. So I'm happy. Massive, massive amount of money still there. Like, I didn't have to free up much to really get those 2 guns, Lomax in. I didn't have to trade a gun out. And now I'm running into the problem of being a little bit too stacked and leaving guys out.
Yeah, I know. And that it's kind of showed itself this week, as we said before. If we feel like we're losing people off reserves that we're like, oh, they can hurt us. You know, that's where teams are kind of getting at the moment. But definitely would rather be in that position than having nobody, you know, which 100%. I don't think too many people are dealing with that at the moment. But, you know, it's definitely a little thing to think about. With your team running through, Ryan Papenhuyzen, Tommy Turbo, you've held Tommy Turbo for the center position. You're praying that the center position kind of opens it up a little bit more, gets his confidence under his legs, right?
Yeah, I brought him in a couple of weeks ago as an option, just for drink water to save some coin and really hope that he sparked back into form. And now, it's not going to hurt me to hold at least another week. He's only sitting at 480. I'm not too worried. We could see either the best or the worst out of him here. I've got the money sitting there to go bang on either Trell or Edwards straight after Origin. So that's my plan anyway.
Yeah, talking about my backline, man, look at your backline. You know, Herbie Farnworth, Karaz, Zach Lomax, and Dylan Lucas. A lot of differences there, but a lot of, like, you know, we got obviously Herbie Farnworth, Lucas. I got him in a different role there, but I love in the Karaz. The Karaz and Zach Lomax one is very, very juicy as well with Garrick on the bench. Talakai there too. Fuck, man. Love going good.
Yeah, Karaz and Lomax, bro, I just can't go past them, you know, like Lomax hasn't scored a try for a couple of weeks now in an Eels jersey, and he's still getting 80 plus. And Jacob Carrad's much the same. I think he got 100 the other week without a try. It just shows their work rate. Again, Herbie, 106. I think he didn't have a try on the weekend. He finally didn't score one. So just guys that are just going to clean up points nonstop from tackle breaks, offloads,
work rate,
constant runs. Yeah.
Just unreal there. Munster there, Nathan Cleary, again, similar with me. Trying to figure out with Nico Hines with the reserve. But as you said before, he brought up great points going up against Melbourne. Maybe we can just go without Nico Hines this week. I'll pose a question for you. Would you, for some people out there, would there be a point to trade in maybe a Jerome Hughes for the run home now? No buys. He gets to run straight home. Like him for Nico Hines. Nico Hines is still the second best scorer in the halfback jersey as we saw today. But is there an option there, Jerome Hughes?
100%. 100% option there. I'm going to probably steer away from it just because I'm probably going to have this situation, hopefully, for the rest of the run home where I'm leaving somebody out anyway. Yep. I'm happy to hold that unless I need to make a change due to injury or if Hines completely drops off. But, pretty solid game there in that first half and to still rack up 90s, not bad. But yeah, I like the Jerome Hughes shout. If I needed a half, like if I didn't have Cleary or Hines, I'd be looking at Hughes as next best.
Yep. Moving to edge back row. Cleon Kolomatangi got the captain on him, brother.
Yeah, I've changed it 3 times during the live. I went to Haas, bro, and then I went to Keon, and I did have it on Pappy before that. So I'm torn on my captaincy option. I'm really hoping Kraz just goes gangbusters, and then I'm moving in Teddy for Turbo, leaving Turbo out and just vice captaining Loop. That's my hopeful plan. Otherwise, yeah, I think I'm just going to stick to a fronty. I don't want to risk Pappenhausen. So it'd either be May, Haas, or Keon that gets my captaincy, I reckon.
Love it. Viliami Kikau, kind of as I was just kind of alluding to a little bit before, you're talking about with Jacob Preston, probably not getting as much ball, going to the opposite end. This guy is going to get fed the ball, in great spots, and he's been in great form as well towards the end of the year. Viliami Kikau, great pod play that I think a lot of people maybe will start looking at jumping on sometime soon, but you got on him early, and he's done wonders for you as well.
Yeah, he's been going bang since he came back from injury. So I cannot complain about that. You were on him and you've jumped off recently, but you can't have them all.
No. And I think a little bit of me, I've seen that form and I'm like, I'm still waiting for the Viliami kick out to punch out like a couple of 30s in a row and be like the old Viliami kick out. You have his big games and then you have his soft ones, but he's been in really good form and his base has improved this year. So it's kind of holding him in with that contest.
I think that's due to, getting the captaincy when Stephen Crichton's away for Origin duties. He seems to be the next man up that gets that captaincy jersey, and it just shows in his work rate that he is becoming a big part of the doggy system and a leader.
100%. And to finish up here, touching on your front row as you did, Haas, May, Tarpane, there's some options there with captaincy options, as you said before. And Blake Brayley, I touched on Harry Grant for being in form for the last couple of weeks and stepped that up. Blake Brayley's been a major contributor for you this year as well, with a big score last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend, this weekend, he's just gone bang the last 2 weeks. So he's really dictating out of the hooker role right now, and it seems to be working for the Sharks. So I'm hoping he keeps that form up.
Yeah, that run mentality he's got in at the moment is just so good for Supercoach. So him and Harry Grant for the run home is going to be a big point to prove for both these guys to see who can win it out. But at the moment, Blake Brayley's doing very, very good things for a guy that was at a budget price when you jumped on him too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I got him fairly cheap. So yeah, Keena's got 397 sitting there and 9 trades still to go. Look, it's just going to be more so in injury happens now that I'll have to trade somebody out, or I think I don't have quite enough cover for Origin next week. I think I've got 13, 14. If I get a really good score this week, I'll just run with that next week. Other than that, I might make a change here or there, but I'm pretty happy with my team now. The only other real person I'm like, shit, I really need to get in is a Hudson Young. And for me, it potentially might be a Tino that goes out.
Yeah. And so we'll have to wait in the future to see how that plays out. We also want to check on, like, how Hudson Young's dealing with the injury. This could also be a longer term thing. Who knows how it all plays out, but obviously getting rested this week, and then he's got Origin after that. We'll probably jump on him at a nice price a little bit later on. If Hudson Young, let's say, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if he wasn't an option, maybe the injury got a little bit worse and it pulls out for a little bit longer. Is there anyone else in that edge back row market that you're looking at that you'll be like, yeah, or you'd be pretty happy to run home with what you got now?
Nah, there's probably nobody else, especially with Hamole out. I probably wouldn't take the risk on anybody else. If I was to really want to move Tino out just because, or fill that back row by one more, I'd be moving my Dylan Lucas up to the back row and getting a Brian Toto for the run home.
Yeah, that's nasty, bro. That's nasty work.
Which is probably going to be my next move if I don't go Hudson Young route.
And Tommy Trbojevic, we kind of touched on it a little bit before, but if he doesn't fire the way that you're looking at, how quickly are you going to be looking at moving him on?
As soon as Origin's done.
Yep.
As soon as Origin's done, that'll be getting upgraded to a Latrell Mitchell, Dylan Edwards. Probably a Dylan Edwards.
Yeah, Latrell was one of the names I was looking at for the run home. I went on early on Dylan Edwards as more of a consistency play. Just because of my rank at the moment, sitting up in like the top, 2,000. I'm expecting a lot of people just doing a lot of big moves. They're trying to get Latrell's and that. I just wanted to go to consistent base data. They're him and Teddy, what they're going to bring every week. And maybe have that one big point scorer in like a Papenhausen. Do you I know Papenhausen's got a pretty fairly good run home. It just popped up in my head fairly recently, actually. Would you look at maybe the option of trading a Papenhausen out for a Latrell Mitchell, or would you be more keen to keep a Papenhausen for the run home?
Yeah, look, Papi and Teddy are set and forget for me the rest of the year.
Yep. Okay.
Despite any injury. Just when Papenhausen sniffs a line break, he's there for a try. It's as simple as that. And Latrell does have that in his game to just get the try assists going. But I think there's just more upside to Papi.
Reece Walsh at 600K at the moment. Is there an option there?
If he shakes a knee injury, it didn't look convincing on the weekend before the game. He was still struggling during warm-up and stuff. I know he killed it on the weekend, but again, I just don't want to touch that because when he's not there at all.
And with Drinkwater, we kind of touched on it just a little bit. Jose's jumped on here. Why do you guys say Drinky get in now? Trade him out for Latrell Mitchell in fantasy. If you go on Latrell, bro, Latrell was probably the option out of the two, but Drinky's going to be looking a lot better. And now that Purdue's in that center jersey, so touch on that.
Yeah, that's all that is, Hosier, is Drinkwater was killing it before Purdue moved to 6 for a couple of games there. He got to be the flary one, the run off the cuff one, whereas Clifford was steering the boys around the park and getting the points. Once that Purdue went into 5'8" there, it kind of took away from Drinky's touches and quality touches. So it affected his scoring in Supercoach. So I expect there to be a bit of an uptick back into Drinkwater's work rate on Supercoach and fantasy. But each to their own on him. You can wait for him to tank a little bit more in cash.
Yeah, this can jump back into like a talking point on like balancing sides and stuff like that, which I think a lot of sides have been dealing with this year. Like you look at the Sharkies and the too many chefs in the kitchen, as in the fact of like Nico Hines and Trindle being two halves, they start to go a bit too sideways. When the Cowboys shifted from not having one director and Tommy did as a run first sort of 6. They went with 2 run first players. What ended up happening, they're going to choose the option of, let's say they see, the edge back or the outside men going out early. They're going to dummy and go. They're not going to go to Drinky. So they're going to choose the run first option instead of being that half of a set, get it out to Drinky. Drinky's going to make it happen. So that's kind of like, teams are really trying to find their balance, and I think like some of the better teams have found it fairly early on. You look at the Raiders, you got Fogarty as a director, you got Strange that is a run first, just bulldog. You look at the Dogs, Toby Sex as a director. Birdo is a run first half. Yep. The balance is there. Where I think a lot of sides are dealing with the imbalance. So the Broncos to start the season, Reynolds, Benny Hunt, 2 sideways. Reynolds, Mam, they're starting to straighten things up a little bit more.
100%. And a sneaky one before I go is if I potentially can't find a fullback that I like suited for Turbo, if he shits the bed, is running either a Jerome Hughes or a Hudson Young as my flex.
I like that. Oh, actually, quickly before we go to, the flex has completely changed the thought process of the flex this year, I believe. Because front row scored so well. Like, you could have ran a front row this year in a flex and you still scored fairly well instead of running the 3 fullbacks, which everyone was thinking this year. So you could go down that route. It's opening up more of that route now. I think Supercoach is changing a little bit in that sort of sense, right?
Yeah, especially the way that they look at the scoring. So, and the fatigue in the game on the ball getting stuck around the ruck a bit more as well. It's becoming a really Ford's game again, and it's great to see. And
this will be the last question before we jump off, guys. Jose, do you think Latu Fanu is a good pod?
Well, I think a lot of people are going to jump on him, so he's not so much going to be a pod, but I think he's definitely one to, if you've got like a mediocre 5'8" there, for sure, downgrade to Latu because he's about to see some good quality minutes and he's about to see an uptick in price and scoring. So for sure.
Yeah, what I like out of Latu, what I've seen out of him recently is his energy. He's got a great running game. He loves the dummy and go when things aren't working. So that all usually tunes into super coach points, you know. So I think he creates a lot of his energy. He always shows up. Very similar to what a Lockie Galvin sort of brings. He's always going to try and like take it to the contest instead of allowing the contest come to him. So definitely could be a good option as in a pod, as Brody said. I think a lot of people will start jumping onto him very shortly because of the price and stuff like that. So
100%.
All right, guys, that will do us for Down Unders. Again, nothing more you want to touch on before we go, bro?
That is all for me tonight, brother.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you tune in next Wednesday for our updates, our previews, stuff like that, as we always do. And yeah, hopefully the Warriors get up this weekend. Hopefully the Doggies continue on the way they're going at the moment, yeah?
I hope so, brother. Hopefully we both get a win. Just quickly for Tans, right before we leave. Yep. When I change my flex, it only gives me a fullback option, so either Lehigh or Iongi. It doesn't sound right. Is that?
No, it doesn't.
Are you trying to potentially swap instead of trade?
Yeah, that might be a swap thing. Could be like, you know, maybe she's trying to like swap a second row to drop down to flex, but a fullback can't go to second row.
No, so Tans, if you're just trying to swap them out, not trade them out, you can only trade them to the position that they play.
Yep.
Like swap them to the position they play. If you trade them, you can trade them for any player you like into the flex position.
Exactly. Yeah. So when it was swapping talents, unfortunately, the little like positional icon there, let's say, as I said, for example, you go on fullback, you got the fullback in your flex and you want to, you move your second rower to your flex. You can't do that because he doesn't fill in the second row position, if that makes sense. Yeah. So if you're trading him out, you should be able to open things up. But I think that's probably what you're dealing with there. So hopefully that opens up. Yeah, Tahi will help you out as well. Tahi's real good with that, with the chat in the Discord that we have, Waz Up TV. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the weekend. Up the Waz and take it easy. Let's go.